Aloha friends, Maria and Craig here, and we just want to talk about, it's dry January, and so a lot of people are giving up alcohol, and we want to talk about what alcohol does for ketosis, what alcohol does for weight loss, what alcohol does for your blood sugar. We're going to talk about a whole bunch of things with alcohol. But I do want to start with saying, so this behind us, someone made a comment on the video when we talked about your ankylosing spondylitis, which was a very serious interview, said, get rid of the, what was it? The
false idol or something?
The false idol behind you and believe in God. So you don't know what our religion is, and we do believe in God, but I also believe that Buddhism teaches us to love everybody.
So there's nothing wrong with that either.
No, maybe we should just be, and it also teaches us to question everything. And I think we do question everything, and that's why we're here talking about alcohol, because we used to drink, and I used to drink a lot, like way too much probably. And I haven't had alcohol for over 15 years now. I've never felt better. I love to wake up and feel amazing in the morning, and it just was holding me back. And the more I learned about it, I was like, yeah, I don't want any. Because a lot of people ask me, I get this question probably every week, Maria, what alcoholic beverage should I have for ketosis? Or like, I'm doing keto, what alcohol can I have? And so some people say you can have rum, you can have tequila, this and that, because there's no sugar in it. But that's just a tiny piece of what alcohol does to the entire body. Like, or they'll choose like Michelob Ultra, which is like the light version or lower carbs or whatever. Or you know, something, they'll do like rum with like diet soda or something because it's low in calories. Yeah. But the calories are like nothing. It doesn't even matter how many calories there are because it's affecting so many other things. What happens is when you drink alcohol, it decreases testosterone and it increases estrogen by 300%. Like, that's huge.
Big impact on your hormones.
But what I find interesting is, like, most people, they'll go to the gym. We have a dog that's freaking out right here. Bring her up here.
I think she needs to be in the video, or she's
like a little
not
jealous. She's cute.
She's not happy.
She's a little snuggle bear. But what a lot of people do is they'll go to the gym like Friday and they'll work out really hard. They'll lift a lot of weights. And then Friday
night,
before
they get drunk for, you know, or go out and drink that evening.
Right, but what happens is when you lift weights, you're breaking down your muscle and you repair them and build them as you rest. But that building doesn't happen if you don't have enough testosterone. As women, we want that too. And when we see men with like a big beer belly, it's not a beer belly, it's an estrogen belly. That's what it is.
Yeah, it's because you're messing with your hormones. And the worst time to do strength training is right before working out. Workout or strength training is right before drinking. Yep. Because you're going to mess the hormones up and you're going to really affect your results.
I used to go to the gym. I saw those people. Friday was a big day for working out because they wanted to go out and, you know, go out to eat, go out to drink and all of that. So it's just, knowledge is power, I think. And that's why we're here. And,
you know, you might also be wondering why we're kind of sitting further apart. It's usually because Bella's between us. She has to be between us always.
So another thing about alcohol.
Well, I was gonna point out one other thing. Story. You know, when I was in high school, we would go out and do the exact same thing. We'd lift weights like crazy on Friday to get ready for the weekend, and then we'd go out and drink. And I know that was holding me back. And personally, you know, it was a big journey for me because I have a German roots on both sides of my family. I was brewing my own beer, brewing my own wine. Yeah. I was doing all of those things.
Well, growing up in Wisconsin, alcohol is a huge piece.
The county we're from in Wisconsin is like the highest alcohol consumption per capita, like one of the top 5 in the country.
Thank you, Taylor County.
Yeah. And so, big culture there of that. And
but also the colleges, they're the #1 drinking colleges. I think stout is huge for that.
But the thing I was going to point out too is beer versus other alcohols too, because, you know, you talk about Ultra and Michelob Ultra, it's lower in carbs, but they all still have gluten. Unless you do it like a rice beer or something.
We're not recommending rice beer.
Yeah, we're not recommending. I'm just saying, in addition to the hormones and these other issues we're going to talk about, it's got the gluten. And that's what finally made me get off of beer, was because I was going... Yeah, go ahead and tell the story.
I'll tell a story. We were at the my parents have a cabin that's like, when you say cabin, it's more like a shack up in the Northwoods that we just love going to because it's really rustic, no internet reception or anything. And there's like a well that we're drinking from. And you were like, oh, I think something's wrong with your parents' water because I get diarrhea here really bad.
Every time I go up to the cabin.
To the cabin, I get sick.
Well, at that time, I had cut most of my alcohol consumption, except on the weekends.
Well, my dad would buy you some fancy beer because you used to like it.
I would have beer up at the cabin, and I wouldn't really have beer anywhere else at that point.
And I was like, it's not the water. And nobody else gets sick.
It was the gluten and
And you never thought you had a gluten allergy.
Yeah, just the sensitivity to it.
Yep.
Once you get rid of that from the diet completely, when you reintroduce it, you see the exaggeration of the symptoms because your body doesn't have to be on defense all the time.
I could tell another story about beer, but I'm afraid my mom would watch it. About the Italian beef. Anyway.
So back to the science of it, right? So if you talk about it, there's a hormone component, which we discussed.
Yep.
But especially when you start talking about weight loss, alcohol is not going to be helpful for anybody trying to lose weight.
Well, we're talking about this because we have weekly meetings every Sunday with our clients, which you should join. It's really fun. And one of them asked Maria and Craig, how come my blood sugar is really good and the best after I drink?
So they were wearing a CGM.
Yeah.
And the night before, they drank more than they had drank in a long time.
Hungover.
She was hungover, but that morning, her blood glucose was really low.
She thought it was a good thing.
They thought it was a good thing, and it was asking a question about why that is. Well, there's something called oxidative priority. And I know we've discussed it before. I'll put a link right up here of an entire presentation about oxidative priority that we've done. But oxidative priority is essentially the priority order in which the body processes fuels. Your blood vessels are kind of like your fuel lines of your car, and they can only hold so much fuel at any given time. Too much glucose in your blood, and you can die. Too much alcohol in your blood, you can die. So the body, when you eat any meal, and especially when you drink alcohol,
there's no storage.
The body has to say, okay, I only need this much fuel in the blood, but now I've got all this fuel, so I got to take care of it, because if it keeps going up, you could die. So the body's a little bit in this panic mode of, okay, I got to deal with all this fuel.
Yep.
And so it does an order in which it processes fuel, basically in reverse order of storage capacity. So fat, really easy to store. And you have huge storage capacity. In theory, unlimited.
Yeah.
I mean, people have literally millions of calories of stored fat on their body in this country. And so that one's easy. That's the last priority. And if you go step all the way through all the fuels, the number one priority is alcohol.
There's no storage.
Not because the body likes it or prefers it. It's actually the opposite. It's because there's no place to store it. And when there's no place to store this fuel, and when it's coming in and it's being elevated to too high of levels in the blood, and the body's worried about dying, it's got to prioritize that fuel because it can't store it, and it's got to burn it all off to bring it back to normal, levels. And so what happens to all the other fuels? What happens to the carbs? If you're taking exogenous ketones, if you're eating and you get fat in a meal and carbs, all those get shoved into storage because it has to deal with the alcohol.
There's some people that put exogenous ketones in their alcoholic beverage, which is like a
great way to
terrible idea.
Just oversupply the body with
But
fuel.
I remember when I did go out and get totally loaded, what did we do after that? We would go to someplace to eat a bunch of junk.
Well, that's one of the other things about
you're eating
not just the oxidative priority and what's happening to the fuels when you have alcohol, but most people get the munchies and they start, and they'll eat extra.
And then all of that's going to storage because it's burning the alcohol.
Because everything you're eating and all the carbs from the drinks are just getting shoved into storage because the body's got to deal with the alcohol. And that's why it's so detrimental for weight loss. And I'll put the chart right here of the oxidative priority so you can see the different fuels in their priority order. But at the end of the day, alcohol is really kind of toxic to the body. And so the body has to burn it off. And what happens with the CGM? You've got this elevated alcohol because you overdid the alcohol. So they were hungover and drank way too much. So the body, there's still a lot of alcohol in the blood the next morning. And so with the alcohol still in the blood the next morning, glucose is getting driven down. It's driving it into storage. Because let's say overall, there's about, I don't know, 100 calories of fuel in the bloodstream at any given time.
Not a lot.
And that's sitting, at rest. That's all the fat, all the glucose, all the ketones, all the alcohol, and that's about all the body wants at any given moment at rest. And so the alcohol's there, it's got to drive down the other fuels, and glucose is one that'll get driven down. And so the blood glucose levels will go down, but it's not a good thing.
But you were saying that she was totally loaded, which she said hungover. But even when I have clients, they say, this one dude's like, Maria, I think I should have a glass of wine every night because my glucose is better and my ketones are higher. And the problem is he was checking his acetate. Alcohol converts into acetate.
Breath
So like
ketones.
breath ketones. So if you get pulled over maybe if we get pulled over by a police officer and even though we're not drinking, when we blow acetate because we're
Sometimes
in ketosis.
that'll increase a blood
That
blood
could
alcohol
be.
meter.
But I just want you to know, like, checking your glucose and your ketones all the time, there's different things that are going to skew it that makes it look healthy and normal, and it's definitely not. And things like exercise that'll make it look bad, and that's not bad either.
Which I will put a link up here too of an article talking about a video talking about that.
But so we live in a culture. Everybody lives in a culture, not just in Wisconsin, that everybody's drinking around us. And I remember when I stopped drinking, it was kind of when we were adopting children, and everyone was like, "Are you pregnant?" I was like, "Not pregnant." But something that I started doing was I still had fancy glasses. And so like I'll put like sparkling water or something in like a nice glass like this and enjoy it. And then nobody's really, and sometimes that's all you need. Like it's not really the alcohol that you want, it's the ritual, you put in a nice glass, but that also helps people stop bothering you if you don't want to drink. Because it's interesting, like nobody's going to say, "Hey, why are you drinking so much?" But if you're not drinking, it's like, "Why are you drinking?"
Good question.
Like,
the social aspect can be pressuring.
Yep.
But also, I was going to mention as well that you talked about the glucose and the ketones. So there's a lot of things that are kind of misunderstood about glucose and ketones. And so many people in this community focus on lowering glucose and upping ketones. And in reality, that has zero correlation to weight loss results or any results. And as we pointed out in our video on good blood sugar spikes, right? There's good things you can do like exercise that spike blood sugar like crazy, but that's a good thing.
Yeah.
There are bad things that will lower your blood glucose, like alcohol, but that's a bad thing. So you have to understand those components.
Or good things like protein, that type of stuff.
And so, there's more to the picture than just focusing on this flatline glucose or this, high elevated ketone level. And so healing comes from supplying the body with all the amino acids and the vitamins and minerals it needs to heal. And protein will help you with that.
But peer pressure is real. Like, let's get that over. Whether it be with alcohol or with food. When you cut out sugar, the first thing that's going to happen is your mom's going to make you your favorite pie because people are triggered when you change. I'm a stubborn German girl, so like the peer pressure just made me want to do keto harder and made me not want to have alcohol at all anymore because I wanted to prove to them I can become a better person and I am going to become a better person and you can't pressure me. But you have to be strong, and if you need a community to support you in that, we're here for you all the time.
But again, these tricks, like a little sparkling, this is just some Zevia in here, and it looks like a sparkling wine. Or even you could do a mixer where you have a no sugar, whatever it might be, a flavoring, you put alcohol in. Just don't put the alcohol in yours. It looks just like everybody else's. And then you can go around and nobody will know the difference.
Yeah, Everly is that drink mix that our kids really like, and it's colored, so that really looks like a mixer.
Yeah.
Like with natural coloring.
So that's another way you can kind of get around the whole peer pressure and whatnot. So.
But yeah, anything else you want to say?
I think we covered most of it.
Yep, check out the science and links below. And let us know in a comment like what you'd like us to cover next, because it's so cool. Like Craig and I sit and talk about this stuff all the time, and I'm like, wait, we need to do a YouTube video about alcohol because we're sitting here talking about it. Let's just do a video. So whatever you are thinking in your head, comment below and we'll cover the science for you.
Thanks, everyone.
If you want to change your life like I've changed mine with food, I would be honored to help you. Many of you don't know that I was twice my size. I had acid reflux. I had PCOS, which is polycystic ovarian syndrome. I had depression. I had IBS, which is irritable bowel syndrome, and food changed my life. And not only did that happen, I get to eat good food, right? Good food. So if you want to eat good food, I have perfected meal plans made by me and personal help with supplements or modifications if you have Hashimoto's, if you have Graves', if you have IBS, if you have PCOS, contact me. I would be honored to help you. You can go to keto-adapted.com and find a lot of different options there for personalized help, or message me by commenting below on this YouTube video, or you can check me out at mariamindbodyhealth.com. Mahalo.